Something else I think stinks, potentially stinks, Medicare Advantage plans. And as it turns out, a lot of people who thought they were making a good choice later burns them really badly. If you are someone with a family member or friend, maybe a parent who's coming up on 65, need you to give them a warning as clear as day that their mailbox, traditional mailbox, the kind you go and they send postal service deliver stuff, will be overrun with a volume of mail that I don't even know how many trees it takes out. When someone's approaching age 65, they're going to get strong-armed with pitches trying to get you to not go into traditional Medicare and instead go into something that's a hybrid, a private-public thing called Medicare Advantage. Keep this in your mind. I call it Medicare Disadvantage because Medicare Advantage plans will be pitched as they are the greatest thing ever that has ever happened in your life. And they're trying to lock you in, hook you in when you turn 65 because it is Hotel California. You can check out, but you never leave once you've gone into one of these Medicare Advantage plans. Here's the story. If you go into a Medicare Advantage plan when you turn 65, whatever illnesses you have, they have to cover them. But once you're in, and let's say you develop some kind of illness or whatever, you're their prisoner. And they can really degrade the benefits over time, and you're still their prisoner because nobody else wants you anymore. And the overwhelming number of people who go into an Advantage plan tell pollsters they're happy. I saw an item recently in Kiplinger that 70% of Advantage plan members are glad they went into it. Okay, but I want you to think about that. 30% of people being in something that could be life and death regret the decision they made and they can't get out? I mean, it'd be fine with Medicare Advantage if you could bolt on them, but that requires states of which only a handful have the right for you to get out and go into somebody else regardless of pre-existing condition. But see, the trap that these Advantage plans set in most states that you can't get around is that once you're in, you're stuck because nobody else is going to take you as you age because you may have this wrong with you, that wrong with you, other wrong with you. With traditional Medicare, you choose who you see, what care you get, and the rest. You go into an Advantage plan, they tell you who you can see, when they're going to cover this, when they're going to cover that. And the worst is if you end up with a really bad disease, let's say a form of cancer, and they don't have any facility or oncologists in the plan that are considered to be good or cutting edge or whatever. If you want to go get good care, you got to pay out of pocket, which you may not be able to afford to do. Advantage plans should be portable. You should not have to worry about this loophole where most states have not done anything about this, that you are permanently imprisoned in what could seem up front to be a good plan and later turns out to be garbage. Garbage that could cost you your life. So I understand why people are pulled in, lured in to the Advantage plan. Because then, many times, you're not having to pay monthly fees like people go into regular Medicare, which is roughly, I think, 50-60% of people are in regular Medicare. Because then you've got to buy what's known as a Medigap policy, which you're having to pay a monthly premium for that covers expenses that Medicare itself doesn't pay for. Medigap plans aren't cheap, but you retain your freedom. So if something did go wrong with you and you needed to see or wanted to see this specialist or go to this hospital or this cutting edge cancer center or whatever, you're able to make that choice. But if you're in an Advantage plan, you can't. And so for these reasons, that's why I call them disadvantage plans. And by the way, every time I talk about this, we get a huge number of posts from people who love their Advantage plan and are happy they're in. And I think that's great. And I'm glad you're there. But the lack of portability, the lack of mobility is a marketplace flaw with how the program is set up and the way the law works. And so if you had that portability and you wanted to go into an Advantage plan, great. But have something that could be life and death and 30% of people wish they weren't in it, that's a problem.